All right, so welcome back to another episode of Coach's Corner. We're super lucky today. We'll be talking to Jason Heil. Heil?
Kyle.
Heil.
Yeah. Yeah. To
He
get you
loves,
on your coaching for that.
come on, I need to get into sim train and practice. Heil. Jason Heil from
Yeah.
Redial. I think, Jason, if I'm right, you got, co-founder, CEO, and managing partner of Redial.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys have been going through some amazing growth in the past few years. Most recently, I think you opened up an office in the Philippines. Why don't you do a quick introduction for our audience and explain to everyone who you are, Jason?
My name is Jason Heil. I'm the co-founder, managing partner, and CEO of Redial BPO. We started off as a nearshore provider, heavily involved in the financial service arena, and then basically expanded from Mexico to South Africa. And just recently from South Africa to the Philippines, which we've opened up a nice site over there. It's outside in one of the suburbs of Manila. Very excited. And I'm actually flying there in a week to go check it out. So yeah,
Awesome.
stood it up remotely. It was cool.
Awesome. And I know when you're growing that fast, you're adding that many new agents across the globe. Coaching's a big part of it, right? And we want to get
Yeah.
into that today. This podcast all about different disciplines, different types of coaching, things that people do to help humans reach past their boundaries, right? From a mental approach and physical approach to training and coaching. Well, and Jason, just to get started, is there a coach in your life that kind of stands out as somebody that has been most meaningful to you as an individual?
Gosh, in my life, a coach
It could be
when I
within the
played
last 5 years. That fits too.
5 years. You know what? Yeah, actually, you know what? I do have a coach from the last 5 years that made a pretty good impact.
Awesome.
And I don't use him as much anymore, but when I was getting things up and running, and believe it or not, in the business world, not everybody understands how the business world is, and I just wanted to make sure I did things right. And I had a business coach that helped my brother and I stay on track, keep up with processes, even helped us adopt OKRs, putting OKRs into our operation. So yeah, his name is Eric Kaufman. Great guy, very, very insightful in a lot of ways. But he was
Awesome.
my coach, the most recent coach that I loved.
That's great. Little shout out for Eric. And we credit John Doerr for OKRs, right, as the originator. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but based on his book, Measure What Matters, those
Yeah,
OKRs
exactly.
are really
Yeah.
important to folks starting and growing businesses. That's awesome. And Jason, coaching and training has been a big differentiator for Redial. I know we talk about this a lot. What is it you believe is the key to your approach in onboarding agents and being able to coach those agents on a continuous basis? Is there a specific approach you follow at Redial?
Yeah, like I don't think there's any specific approach because the clients that we normally work with when they do the trainer, they all have a different approach of the way they would do training.
Yep.
But one thing that we've standardized across all the different types of training is into the nesting phase, where yes, as us being a client of yours, Dan, at SimTrain, we put them through the entire process of role playing in the sim train models, which we've standardized that really helped agents basically get up to speed, get, like I always like to say, chew on the marbles before you get into the operation floor because you don't want them getting and taking calls and saying, oh no, this is my first call, like get the jitterbugs out, right? So that's kind of what we did. And yeah, it's been fantastic.
That's awesome. And Jason, chew on the marbles. That's a first. I've heard chew the cud, right? Chew on the cud,
Yeah.
but never chew on the marbles. But I love it. But experiential learning, role play, we're obviously big fans of that. That's, why we started SimTrain in the first place is giving agents, a chance to practice, give them an opportunity to build their confidence while they're developing skills. I love the T3 call out, train the trainer. We love
Yeah.
coach the coach too now as well. So T3 and C2. And Jason, you mentioned SimTrain, right? So thank you for the plug there. I think me and Eric both owe you a big shout out back at you. But what other ways have you seen technology really impact the way you coach, the way you develop people? Maybe not just even at Redial, but over the course of your career, how has technology played a big part of that or any part of that?
Well, we were early adopters when the speech analytics started to be a big thing.
Yeah.
So us as a at the time we're like a small, and as we're starting to head more into the medium size player, we started to adopt early on speech analytics. And I thought my thought process at the time was a lot of clients are basically going to have a bunch of red tape to get that approved or into their operation. So what we did is we added as a value add. What it did is give us a lot of great insight, like call drivers into how agents are acting or how the customer CSAT would be. And basically, we would be able to learn from that and then create and tailor specific trainings to each individual. So, also, we've been working with you to tie that in with our speech analytics so then it could automatically help us create certain projects, knowing how we should uptrain people for sales, customer service, whatever the case may be. Right. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I credit some conversations back in 2020 with the folks at Call Miner as a
mhm.
predecessor to our connected coach strategy. But I really think it's customers like you who helped us and guided us through the development cycle around connecting our coaching exercises specifically to some of these speech analytics engines. Jason, I love it. Anything else to share there? Because I do believe the first step in becoming a really good coach is identifying, what areas to focus on, whether it's in baseball, whether it's in soccer, or any other sport. I do think that's, a key. And anything that you found that, hey, tying speech analytics to AI coaching that has had a big impact?
Yeah, I mean, with the speech analytics, it allowed us to know with agents if it's a skill or will issue, right? Because that's the
Yeah.
first thing that always we need to identify. And that's why the clients hire us is like to manage that type of behavior. And then when we realize it's a skill issue and they like want to learn, they want to do better. And then it's just customizing the training program to them. A trainer that we have internally, Mauricio,
Mm.
he's fantastic. I mean, he works for your guys' team a lot and he builds out tons of sims, constantly customizing it to each individual, working with our team, our operational managers that oversee supervisors. Like, hey, we need something to help get this guy up to speed because this guy is almost above where he needs to be, but he's struggling right at the end of the script, for example. And what he would do is create something 5 minute blurb, focus on it, role play that, run through it, go through different objections, create like some sort of decision tree within it of this can happen or that can happen, and then have him role play and send him back into,
I love
the
it.
into the calls. Yeah.
I love the skill or will piece, right? That's such an awesome like early indicator. I know for me, I spent years at trading half of my new hires in the first 6 months. This is before SimTrain. I was running
Hmm.
a small outbound BPO, and
Yeah.
and I thought, you know what? I'm keeping the best of the best, the cream of the crop sticking around. And then after a while, Jason, I realized like that sucks going home and having to tell your spouse, like, oh, I know I started this job 3 months ago, but now I'm out looking again, right? Nobody takes a job or wants to fail, right? So skill or will. I love that.
Yeah. And it's like what we're identifying is like some people learn by actually doing it. And then some people are just great audio learners or visual learners.
Yep.
So it's just really kind of creating and curating that special training for that each individual. And you can't do it, especially when you have a class of 20, class of 50. You can't do it for everybody. But what you're able to do is start to early on identify how they do learn and then create the trainings for them when they start going into operations, right? Because then you'll start to see who's exceeding and doing really well and getting up to speed with the learning curve or the glide path that we would put in place versus who's a little bit behind and why are they behind. And we try to find out, okay, well, how can we coach you and get you become better at what you want to do, right? So
Yeah, two core concepts there, targeting those exercises and coaching, and then the intermodality, right? People learn
mhm.
different ways. And sometimes it's not just one of those different ways, it's mixing them up. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
Jason, I happen to know you are a parent of an elite athlete, right? And I think because we talk about coaching all the time with our customers, the difference between developing an individual skill and developing a team, right? Is there anything that you've seen as your son, in his career in soccer and being a world-class soccer player that you've identified with coaching for these elite athletes that might be different than what most humans deal with or encounter from a coaching perspective? And
You
you
know
can tell
what?
us, hey, where your son's at too, by the way,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
no, he was playing and he got picked and he's playing at a one of the Barcelona academy. So it's like a live-in program where he lives and plays and they just basically train for the future and educate them. So he's in
Yeah,
a really great place and he's competing with a bunch of other kids that are just as good or better than he is. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, the only thing that's going to separate yourself from everybody else is one, the obsession. How obsessed are you with doing it the right way? And then
yeah,
constantly training. And same with this coach, right? Because I think I forgot where I read it, but it's like the thousand rule where you have to do the same thing 1,000 times to really start to get good or even master it. So it's the same thing I explained to my son, and it's just like I, yeah, he has big dreams to be this huge soccer player, and I'm like, shoot for it, do whatever you want, right? It's a
yeah.
great learning experience, but you need to train, you need to work, you need to practice. It all needs to go into it. So,
Yeah, one of those cool things as you were talking, I'm thinking about being an athlete at that level. You're mixing in gameplay and then the assessment from the game back to practice. It's a combination of fundamental skills that have to be
mhm.
reinforced, but then higher level advanced skills and practicing against the best, right? I had
Yeah.
a, I had my, I think it was my calculus teacher who always told me, we're going to make you practice harder in the class than any of the tests, right? And you should do the same on the sports field, right? Make practice
It's
harder
so
than.
funny you say that because I tell them, I said, when you get a chance and you're playing, like when they're not practicing, but they're always all playing, I'm like, you should play with the older kids. Just play with the
Yep.
older kids. And when he was younger, I used to sign him up to play with the older kids because I just knew he could play. So,
Yeah.
and he was playing with the older kids a lot, which also helped improve his skills and make him better, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
good.
Yeah, I could see just based on some of the competitive differentiation you do at Redial that, developing humans and including your son to become an elite athlete, you've developed agents to become elite and delivery. And that's been a big differentiator. As a matter of fact, Jason, I take a lot of personal pride in a comment that you share with me pretty often about the growth of Redial, right? Specifically in 2024. You've shared with me some stats of the number of customers you've added and how many of those you think are because of the way you coach AI coaching and sim training. Would you mind sharing with our audience?
Yeah, I think, I don't think from the conversations we have, most of them are extremely interested and they love the way we approach onboarding, training specifically, how we create the nesting phase for them, how they role play in the nesting. I mean, Dan, you've been a huge part of our success. It's been a secret sauce. I mean, as you're starting to work with more BPOs, but at the same time, when we started working with you early on, it was fantastic because at that time, the way we were doing things, it was working out, and people loved the way we would create training for our clients and how we would have the specific sims for each individual of the clients, where we even called it when they go back into operation out of the actual nesting phase, we rebranded it play on redial, but retrain, right? So
Right.
just always get them up to speed.
Retrain, recoach. We'll do
Yeah, all of
from a
it, all
branding.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love telling people when I tee you up for, or my team tees you up for a reference call, like, hey, over 80% of his customers last year came from SimTrain. Just go ask
Oh
them. He'll
yeah,
tell you.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. I think it might even be 100%.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. It'll come from
95,
SimTrain.
because I got to give Elder credit. No.
All right, kid, he's a talented sales rep. Hey, Jason,
Yeah.
great to get to know you deeper. Talk a little bit about your son. Talk a lot about coaching. Tell us a fun fact we can't go on LinkedIn or find out about you online that we might not know.
A fun fact. I have
Something
a
people
twin.
don't know about Jason
Heil.
Heil.
I have a twin brother, and my family's from Poland. So I'm a
Oh
Polak.
man. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll grill you offline for not taking the twin brother thing a step further and making that a more of a fun fact, but
yeah,
we'll go
yeah.
with it. The Polish family of twins. I'm going to a Polish wedding this weekend, by the way. So
Dude, prepare your liver. Juice and
I did the pre-bachelor party on Wednesday and I was hurting
yeah,
pretty bad. So
yeah,
Victor
yeah,
killed me. I told my wife,
yeah.
I'm not allowed to go near him. Hey,
And have really good dancing shoes
oh
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
drinking and dancing and eating. That's all we do.
I'm looking forward to it. Hey, a favorite book, Jason?
Favorite book?
If you don't read, you
Gosh.
can tell us a favorite movie. It's like, Dan, I don't read. Favorite
No,
movie's
no,
fine.
no, no. I read a bunch of little articles. I haven't read a book in a what the last book I read was probably a few months ago, and I read the book called Mars, and it was
Oh,
or
nice.
Martian, right?
Yep.
It was the book of gosh, what's that guy's Matt Damon did when he was stuck on Mars.
Oh, yeah. I forget the
Yeah.
movie. I watched it though.
Yeah. I read the book. It was really detailed.
Cool.
It was good.
So the book I think you might like, having mentioned John Doerr and those habits that Eric Kaufman got you in front of, is Bill Campbell, the ultimate
Okay.
coach. Yep, he was one of the ultimate coaches for these startup companies that everyone attests. So no longer with us, but Bill Campbell, one of the better business coaches. And yeah, I absolutely know you read. You built an amazing company, intelligent, incredibly intelligent guy, and really appreciate you joining us today and letting our audience learn from the great Jason Heil.
Heil.
Hi.
Super German, but I'm Polish, I swear.
Oh man, that's awesome. All right,
Uh,
Jason Heil. It was great talking to you. Have a good afternoon and
Jason
thanks
Heil, I'm here
everyone.
to make you smile. All right. I'll see you later,
I'll
Dan.
make you smile. Oh, now I'll never forget it again. Smile
Yeah,
how?
that's right.
All right, I'm in. Count me in. See
All
you,
right.
brother.
Cheers.